I am here in London and we are wrapping up the Syria Donors Conference. I just came from a press conference where David Cameron and other world leaders announced the total pledges for today and amounted to more than $10 billion in pledges, with an additional $5.6 billion for the 2017 to 2020 period. There's been 3 other donor conferences just for the Syria crisis in the last few years, but this one's been interesting because it's had a sector focus. Justine Greening, who's the UK's Secretary of State for International Development, wanted to focus on education and livelihoods for this conference and look at what it would take to build resilience while conflict is still going on. By focusing on sectors instead of just pledging money, what donors are hoping to do is extend the life of the aid dollars that countries and donors and private sector partners are pledging. And what's been especially interesting here and has distinguished this pledging conference from previous ones are the host countries. The host countries have played a really crucial role in deciding how to encourage donors to supply that multi-year funding. For example, King Abdullah from Jordan wanted to provide a quid pro quo to say to donors, we want to create these employment permits for refugees and for internally displaced people, but we can't do that unless you guarantee that we can have this multi-year funding. Germany pledged aid over a course of 4 years, and they set the bar really for other donor countries. The private sector also has expressed an interest in investing in the region and in Syria itself, which a lot of people that I spoke with were very surprised by and encouraged by, that the private sector is already very curious about getting into the country and helping to rebuild infrastructure, even at this early stage. I think a couple of questions that development organizations still have are around policy. How can we actually facilitate a change in the status quo for how we do development to make it a longer-term commitment? Often programming cycles are short, so we would need change at the policy level in order to make that happen. Stay tuned for ongoing coverage of the Syrian refugee crisis.